Good morning, gardeners, and welcome to Monday, August 7th. My name is Catherine, and I created a show called Good Morning Gardeners, even though I can't grow green things, because I am referring to gardening metaphorically. We're planting the seeds for a better day. We're starting our morning by getting in the right mindset to cultivate a better life for ourselves, better communities, and a better world. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to add Good Morning Gardeners to your morning routine. I do my best to wake you up with positive and mentally stimulating ideas, but sometimes I do miss things. If you have something to add to the ideas I discussed this morning, please chime in the comment section below. So today's daily Stoic reading, titled Pragmatic and Principled, begins with a quote from Marcus Aurelius. He says, "Wherever a person can live, there one also can live well. Life is also in the demands of court. There, too, one can live well." The authors add, William Lee Miller, in his unique ethical biography of Abraham Lincoln, makes an important point about this famous president. Our deification of the man makes a point to pretend he wasn't a politician. We focus on his humble beginnings, his self-education, his beautiful speeches. But we gloss over his job, which was politics. That misses what was so truly impressive about him. Lincoln was all the things he was: compassionate, deliberate, fair, open-minded, and purposeful, while being a politician. He was what we admire in a profession we believe to be filled exclusively with the opposite of that type of person. Principles and pragmatism are not at odds. Whether you live in the snake pit of Washington, D.C., work among the materialism of Wall Street, or grew up in a closed-minded small town, you can live well. Plenty of others have. Okay, so there's definitely a lot to unpack there. Let me just start by saying that I have problems with today's daily Stoic reading. The first problem is the blanket assumption that all politicians are somehow evil or inherently flawed. I don't believe that to be the case. I do think that the political system in the US tends to incentivize dishonesty, or at least manipulation. And of course, I also think that there are some interesting psychological factors at play with the average person's view of politics, but that's a topic for another episode. And yeah, I have personally known politicians, not like national politicians, but local, small town politicians who got into it genuinely to help their community. And yeah, I think it's pretty dismissive to call all politicians bad. I mean, no matter what profession you're talking about, I think it's important to remember that every person is a human being. And I have a hard time believing that every human being employed in a specific profession is just bad. Anyway, the second problem I have with this reading is this specific argument for pragmatism, just the way they present it. The way they present it is like, whether you live in a snake pit, a den of materialism, or a closed-minded small town, you can have a good life. Now, technically, I believe that to be true. I mean, I do agree that it is possible to live a good life anywhere. However, I think that by pointing this out in a daily devotional, you might be encouraging your readers to settle for less than optimal environments, or even to turn a blind eye to the unethical behavior surrounding you. While you can have a good life anywhere, if the option is available to you, I think you should seek to relocate, especially if your environment is significantly hindering you. So when I think about optimizing my environment, I always think about Jen Sincero and what she has to say on this topic in her Badass book series. For our learning moment today, I'm going to read from the original, You Are a Badass, from a chapter called Your Brain is Your Bitch. And this chapter begins with a quote from James Allen, who Jen calls an old-timey author and a self-help pontificator. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and, shaping what he wills, joys 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. Jen writes, how often stop and notice how genius our universe is. With all its moving parts and mathematical perfection and chemical reaction and food chains and gravity and all the magnificent efficiency and complexity that makes it up. Nature is a smoothly running machine where nothing goes to waste. It all has a place and a purpose, and it all works together in its intricately interwoven and compatible way to create the flabbergasting isness of it all. As British philosophical writer and self-help pioneer James Allen states in the quote that opens this chapter, mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind. So we are the very thinking substance that was used to create us. Hello, how major is that? This is why positive thinking is all the rage and negative subconscious beliefs are so gnarly, and why meditation and learning to guide your thoughts and love yourself can change your life. Our thoughts are the most powerful tools we've got. I think, therefore, I can create awesomeness or horrendousness. But the bottom line is that it's through our thoughts that we create our realities. It's also why buying into whatever illusion you're living in the present moment is selling yourself so short if it's anything less than what you truly desire. You created the reality you now exist in with your thoughts, which means you can use the very same power of thought to change it. As Wallace Wattles, author of The Science of Getting Rich, so brilliantly states, to think what you want to think is to think the truth, regardless of appearances. To think what you want to think is the truth. Is that not the best news ever? It doesn't matter what your reality looks like at the moment, because where you desire to be is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And if you fixate your mind on this truth, believe that it is real and already here, and take decisive action, it will manifest itself. Your thoughts and beliefs dictate your reality. So if you want to change your reality, you have to change your beliefs. The problem is that most people are real protective of their beliefs and are usually fairly crotchety should you suggest that perhaps there's another version of the truth. I'm bad at sales. I have terrible luck. I'm scared of flying. Marriages don't last. I have ugly feet. I'm broke. Are you calling me a liar? Do you see a hot boyfriend on my arm? No, you don't. You see a cat on my lap next to my needlepoint project because I stink at relationships. That is the truth, and that has always been the truth. And that will be your truth as long as you choose to think it. And as long as you feed the beast, it shall live. The moment you have the audacity to start believing in the not yet seen, your reality will begin to shift. The following is hugely important, so please pay very close attention. You have to change your thinking first, and then the evidence appears. Our big mistake is that we do it the other way around. We demand to see the evidence before we believe it to be true. Remember, everything you desire is right here, right now. You just have to shift your perception in order to see it made manifest. Your job isn't to know the how, it's to know the what, and to be open to discovering and receiving the how. Keep your thoughts directed at your goal. Do everything you do know how to do to make it happen. Decide with unwavering determination that it will happen, and be on the lookout for the opportunity. I had a client who went to Tuscany and looked at a house that was for sale while she was there. At the time, she was a bartender and a poet and could barely scrape together the money to buy the plane ticket to Italy, let alone to buy a Tuscan villa, but she checked it out anyway and completely fell in love with the place. While she instantly knew in her soul that it was her house, she also knew that her bank account had tumbleweeds blowing through it. But she asked the owners to take it off the market because she was going to figure out a way to buy it. So she flies home in a stupor, thinking that perhaps she has gone completely insane, but she sticks to her guns and starts asking around for ideas. She is almost immediately buried beneath a pile of warnings from everyone around her. It's a huge responsibility, not to mention all the complications that come with being in another country. Last time I checked, you don't speak Italian, nor are you a citizen, nor do you know a single thing about homeownership, and considering you can't even afford to get your teeth cleaned, how are you planning on paying a mortgage and yada, yada, yada. Yet she keeps on going because in spite of all the evidence otherwise, she believes this is her house. This is her truth. Finally, someone mentions the idea of pre-renting blocks of time in the house to raise money to buy it. People could pay for their time a year in advance. She would just need to sell enough blocks of time to pay for the house, and voila. Cut to her discovering this sort of thing is illegal, going back to the drawing board, trying a million other things, discovering that it's actually not illegal, then pre-selling enough rental slots and borrowing some money to make a very long and ups and downsy story short. She has owned the villa for several years and is thinking about buying another. You've got to get a handle on your thoughts if you want to change your life. As Albert Einstein so aptly noted, the world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. So one of the ways that Jen Sincero suggests changing your thoughts to change your reality in this chapter is by upgrading your environment. She writes, if you aspire to have a more up-leveled and inspiring lifestyle than you presently have, and you're actively visualizing this for yourself, it's going to be quite a struggle to keep your thoughts large and in charge if every time you pull up to your rickety-ass home, you hear the Sanford and Son theme song start up in your head. So even though you're going to be thinking and imagining the change before it happens, do what you can to make some upgrades to where you're at now. Give the place a paint job and clean it up. Get new furniture or fix up what you already have. Throw out the clutter, let some air in, hang inspiring art on the walls. This will not only help keep your frequency high, but it will alert the universe that you are not screwing around, that you're doing everything you can and are waiting for further instruction on the how. So if you are a doubting Thomas like me, what I just read probably strikes you as pretty woo-woo. By the way, if you don't know what doubting Thomas means, it's a biblical reference and it just means a skeptical person. I am and have always been a pretty skeptical person. So skeptical that, unprompted, I deconverted myself from the religion into which I was indoctrinated for the first 18 years of my life, ever since called myself an atheist. But I believe that there is something to what Jen Sincero is talking about. I don't fully understand it, and I might not be able to present a fully formed scientific explanation, but I do believe that manifestation can work. Of course, since this kind of thing would be incredibly difficult to test scientifically, the only real supporting evidence I have is anecdotal. Most relevantly to this episode is the fact that I am recording this from Germany right now. A few years ago, I wanted nothing more than to live in Europe. I can't say for certain that I completely manifested my current living situation, but I can tell you that when the opportunity came, I pounced on it with everything I had. And yeah, I've been living in this little village for a couple years now, and lately, funnily enough, what I've been wanting more and more is just to move back to the United States. Awful here. I really love it here. But it's because I want to be closer to the friends and family who have been unable to visit me as often as I would have liked. So on that note, for our feel-good moment, I'd like to share with you today's message from Ancestors Said by Ehime. Now, if you've been with me a while, you might remember when I stumbled upon the TikToker who authored this book, and at that time, I loved the video that she created that I just immediately pre-ordered the book. And that tells you a bit about my book selection. So if you think that the books I present are random, that's because a lot of times they kind of are. But this one, I'm really glad that I ordered it. It's kind of small, really cute, and it's like a daily devotional style book with some thoughts for each day that you can meditate or ruminate on. There is an interesting couple pages at the beginning about ancestors, and if you guys are interested in that, I can share that in a future episode. But for today, I am just going to read what the ancestors say on August 7th. You will get lost many times as you experience life. Know that you will return home each time. Celebrate the moments when you remember who you are. Ancestors will keep the light on and the food warm as you find your way back. So, you might be in a position of wanting to upgrade your environment, whether by bettering it or relocating yourself, or both. Or you might be like me, unable to decide which environment to settle on. I like the ancestral message for today because it reminds me that my true home is myself. I might be destined to be a wanderer, but my intuition knows where I belong at any given moment, and my true home is found within myself, whether you want to say that it is my heart or my mind or my soul, whatever you want to call it. Now, I don't regret moving to Germany at all. I've had countless wonderful and challenging experiences while living here and exploring Europe, and I have expanded my heart and mind, and I know that I will take the experiences from this time with me wherever I go next. But right now, my intuition, myself, my home, is telling me that it is time to move closer to the people I love. And to put all of this into perspective, I would like to read the shortest chapter in You Are a Badass, which is titled The Sweet Life. It begins with a quote from Keith Richards, who Jen calls a rock god and a connoisseur of life. He says, "It's great to be here. It's great to be anywhere." Jen writes, "I've got a cat who's 22 years old. I've also got a dad who's 87. The cat and my dad share the same superhero power. They both have the ability to make me pay lots of attention to them and be nicer to them than I am to anyone else. Anyone else is not staring down the barrel of their impending mortality. I first realized that my cat was old and might die soon about a year ago, when overnight all his body fat plunged to his belly region, causing him to swing it around like an udder and leaving him with a spine that's still in shock, jutting out all spindly and jagged, wondering where everybody went. This is when the teary farewells started every time I'd leave the house and the fancy wet food began appearing in his bowl. In Dad's case, the phone calls and flights back east have escalated dramatically, and I now laugh hysterically at all his jokes, no doubt making him worry more about my well-being than I do about his. I'm thrilled to report that even though, in the calendar's opinion, they're really old, they're both still kicking butt. Dad plays tennis once a week and still knows who I am, and my cat still runs when he hears the can opener. They are also excellent reminders. When it comes to the creatures you love and the things you love and the life you love, what on earth could possibly be more important than soaking them up right now while you still have the opportunity? If it's something you want to do, don't wait until you're less busy or richer or ready or 20 pounds lighter. Start right now. You'll never be this young again. If it's the people you love, visit them as often as possible. Act as if every time you see them will be the last. If they bug you sometimes, love them anyway. If you've got differences, get over them. Don't get so tangled up in the stupid little stuff that you miss out on enjoying the people who have part ownership of your heart. If you're not where you want to be in life, keep going. Treat yourself like you are the closest friend you've got. Celebrate the magnificent creature that you are. Don't let anyone mess with you and your dreams, least of all yourself. Your life is happening right now. Do not snooze and lose. Love yourself while you've still got the chance. For our focus moment today, I invite you to consider the home inside yourself. No matter where you are physically, your thoughts are the most important part of your environment. So what is it like inside your head? Is it stressful? Is it relaxing? When you have time alone to sit with yourself and think, is it pleasant or is it awful? If your inner environment is unpleasant, it could be for a variety of reasons, but I'm going to suggest what I believe is a really common one this morning, and that is self-judgment. So this is your sign to be nicer to yourself. Whenever you start to call it or ugly or lazy, imagine what you'd say to someone you love if they were in your position. Imagine saying to your child, your friend, or your sibling what you are saying to yourself. Personally, when I catch myself judging myself, I like to imagine one of my younger sisters is in my position, and I think of what I would say to any of them. I would never speak to any of them abusively, so why would I speak to myself that way? Creating a safe environment inside your head is just the first step in creating an amazing inner home. And if you've already got this down, you can focus next on things like reducing fear or creating a more empowering environment up there in your head. And, I don't know this for sure, but I would guess that it is impossible to ever get to the point where your mental environment is perfect and you can just keep it that way. Just like with our physical homes, I think there's always upkeep. And I guess that's just another reason it's so important to fall in love with the process. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will speak with you again tomorrow.